day for women, International Women's Day, and happy day to all of us. I would first of all like to thank the organizers of this event for putting it together, and to thank Nina Kondo for inviting me to participate. So thank you. I'm going to come from it a little bit differently than you have, Nina. The backgrounder, I think I'd like to share something with you that I believe that we are all now because of what we were when. And I think that's a very important thing to think about in terms of our historical background, our family past, even way, way before we were born, our genetical past, our environmental past, and many more whens. My when was shaped before I was born. I was a German war child from the Second World War. My mother and her friend were raped by several Americans. I've always thought of whether she has attempted to abort me or not, but I never had the nerve to ask, quite frankly. So I'm quite frankly happy to be alive. But I also want to say that I am a pro-choicer. She gave me up for adoption, and then somewhere down the road she changed her mind, although she couldn't keep me. She still had to place me into a children's home, which is what we call now here in Canada as an orphanage. However, I still have good memories of that home. There were very many children in similar situations during and after the war who had totally lost their families, their parents in the bombings. I was even kidnapped several times by an intending family that wanted to adopt me, but the police were able to find me and return me to the children's home because my mother had not given me up yet. She finally was able to take me home when I was 4 years old. I was the lucky child. My parents immigrated to Canada when I was almost 8 in order to have a better life in this country. I was put back to grade 1, and there I fought my first fight, and I won. A patrol boy would call me Nazi every day at this corner, and I didn't know what it meant. And at 8 years old, so I checked it out with my mother, and the next day when he did it again, skinny, and I was very skinny, you don't think that now, I jumped and I beat him up at 8 years old. He was a lot older than me. So now I don't believe in physically beating up people, okay? But I do believe that that was when I was shaped to stand up, to speak up, to not only, just hear people say things, and not to accept the prejudices and stereotyping or the bullying. Quite frankly, I never gave that much thought until I became an adult on the whys and hows I developed my thinking. But there are some important wins that I can speak about. I had parents who encouraged me. That was an important fact. They believed in me. They wanted me to do the very best that I could do. And yes, sometimes I'd come home and they'd complain and they'd say, you don't get an A. Guess what? In any case, I was very lucky, and they supported me in whatever career I would choose. I also had public school teachers right from the start in the mid-50s and early 60s who were mainly from what I would call old school thinking. Mostly were women, and they pushed and challenged all of us, boys and girls, to reach for the stars. And they even posted signs reaching for the stars in the classroom. They cared for us. We were their children, and we really believed in them too, and they believed in us. And that was a wonderful thing. Children need someone to believe in them. in 1968, when I was hired in my first job as the staff publication editor for Great West Life Assurance Company, that during the signing of some of the hiring documents, where the pay scale showed that I was going to be making $50 less than the male editor hired for the sales publication. And when I asked why, I was told a typical response that men had to support families. And in those days, you had different wage scales for men and women. Besides, they expected women to stay only for a year anyway, so I wouldn't be paying into the retiring package unless I stayed till I was 25. So I had something like about 4.5 years or 5 years left before I could pay into the package. And interestingly enough, when I ended up interviewing a woman who was retiring, and she retired at the age 60, because that was the required age for the women in that company. This is Great West Life Assurance Company, who had to retire at 60 while the men could retire at 65. When I interviewed her for one of the stories, for her retirement story, she was out of Chicago. She was very bitter. And she said, because I said to her, so, you must be very happy to retire. And she says, yes, I'm not very happy to retire. And I said, well, why? She said, well, when I started, I couldn't pay into the pension fund. So, of course, I told you that story already. Now that I'm 60, I'm receiving, there's another 5 years. In other words, I'm getting 10 years less pension than the men who are going to be retired. That was my first story, and many more stories that I wrote on at that time. So, in any case, I also, when I spoke with these hiring managers, I said to them, well, I don't understand why there's differences in pay, because when we, at university, they didn't teach you that. We didn't learn that about that. I just thought the world was as it was. And anyway, I said, my mother had to support my father when he was ill, the many years he was ill. So I don't understand why you can't pay me the same, because I may be in the same situation. Anyway, that didn't go anywhere. So, although I didn't recognize it as such at that time, I had just been converted into a feminist, a term with which I was totally unfamiliar. Psychologically, I was already heading out the door before I even approached my new office desk. I've had a variety of positions in my career as a writer, editor, researcher, information and communications officer, and consultant. But when I think where I had the greatest impact in helping women was when, starting in 1975-76, I was working as the first regional women's employment coordinator for what was then called Canada Manpower. A few of you might remember that name. Along with 4 other regional coordinators in Canada, we were able to put together a federal women's employment and training policy and program strategy and implement it. What I must say to you, we were called to Ottawa, all of us. I was there nary 2 months. And they wanted us to start going out promoting equal opportunities for women and so on and so on. And so we said, okay, what's the policy? There was no policy. So we said, we need to go and think. So we gathered along with some other individuals, women from across Canada, and sat in the room and talked. And we decided that unless there was a policy, first of all, in place, there was nothing to speak to in terms of the government having a commitment to the issue of equal opportunities for women in employment and in training. So we wrote a letter to the deputy minister and said that we were all going to go home. That was the next day. Return back to our homes until we would hear further that the government was prepared to put a policy for women in place. tickets and flew back. Well, the air waves were burning, I guess, with the phone calls that were being made across the country to the regional directors. So by the time I got back and arrived, I immediately called into our regional director's office and said, "What's going on?" Well, what's the point? Why are you hiring us as Women's Employment Committee coordinators who are to start putting programs in place and there's no policy, which means nobody's going, there's nothing that anybody needs to do. They don't have to follow through. Okay, so anyway, the deputy minister then again requested that we come to Ottawa and that we write the policy. And we said if we're going to write a policy, we wanted to write a strategy which we were going to follow until it was done. So that's what we did. We flew back to Ottawa, it was about 3 weeks later, and spent a week in Ottawa writing up policies, did our strategies, what kind of programs we wanted to see in place, and agreed that we would do this right across Canada and put our timelines in, our measurements, the whole 9 yards. And it was adopted by not only the deputy minister, but went up to the minister as well, and we were able to start. Now, it wasn't easy. We had to encourage the department to change its name. Manpower didn't really, if they were going to have women starting to work, did we want a manpower operation? We wanted people power, right? We had new dollars and cents set aside for new training courses in the provinces. Such courses as women in trades, in technology, in apprenticeship, women returning to the workforce, women on mother's allowance, special measures for our employers, special financial incentives to hire women in non-traditional occupations, special outreach projects to help women in making career or training choices, and helping them find jobs. We had special initiatives to teach male college instructors to change their language, particularly in their non-traditional courses. And we funded conferences and projects for women in trades. We instituted internal federal government special office of development and public service equal opportunities programs. And that was the first thing that I did as one of the goals that I set inside as well. I said, you want me to go out and talk to employers? How can I talk to employers when we, as an employer, don't operate as an equal opportunity employer either? We don't have special programs for women to move up. And what particularly galled me was that I remember one of the first days that I came into the office, and I came through the door where the secretary was to the regional director, and I had said to her, oh, so, and we got to talking, how long you've been here. I just came, and I said, oh, that's interesting. So what's your background? And she tells me, well, actually I have a master's degree in counseling. And I said, so what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be out working at the employment centers, working as a counselor? She said, well, no, I hadn't understood that. I'd never worked in the federal government. Government was a new experience at that end. And she said, well, there's these rules. And the rules are that you have to go step by step. So she was at that time hired at something like a CR2 or CR3. So she had to go through the CR4 or CR5 before she could even jump into the other. You couldn't compete because of what you knew or your background at that time. So we actually, through our Equal Opportunities Committee and the Public Service, we also got going. We were able to speak to the Guy d'Avignon Commission at that time, which was going across the country in regards to personnel practices in the public service. And we had them change that. So that was a real coup, I would say. So there's lots of different things that happened way back when. You know, when I think about it, even our present agency, Success Skills Center, we funded at that time. It started off, I worked with the person who developed our agency, not knowing that I would end up being there. I must say it was an exciting period of change between 1975 and 1985. When I had started that federal government job, I had put together a 5-year plan, thinking all would be accomplished and I would head on to another challenge. How naive I was. Although I was lucky at that time to have men in the training department. They had daughters that they loved. They were wholeheartedly supportive of the work I was doing, and they became my greatest champions. In spite of some of the very heavy male opposition from some other managers around the region. And I can tell stories, believe me, really good stories. Well, 10 years later, just as we were able to measure a change in the system, where we could start seeing women starting in the trades, moving into management, into supervisory positions, because there were none in management aside from myself and 2 other women in the entire Prairie region, and that included the Northwest Territories, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. We were the only women in management. And I was considered a token. That's another story. In any case, a new government came into place. So it became very apparent to me at that time, from the communications that were coming across my desk from Ottawa, that all the work that we had done was going to be wiped out. All the data gathering, all the special programs, and we were going to be going backwards again. And I just couldn't face it, I have to be honest. Couldn't face it, couldn't deal with it. And so I said, I'm going to have to go back to the private sector, going back to writing and consulting. So that's what I did. And then I came to where I am now. So what's the takeaway? When I look back, I think what was set in motion by many women collaborating for change, starting from the many years past, be it the 1200s, the year 1200s, the 1800s, the 1900s, the 20th century, the 1970 Royal Commission on the Status of Women. And please, if you have a chance, go and read it. Absolutely a prime document. And the 1975 International Women's Year, the first one, did have a tremendous impact. And we celebrate, of course, International Women's Day today. I do see more and more women in all types of career positions, which just weren't there when. We all, by working collectively, can and do affect change. We can never give up, because we are programmed, as I believe, by our moments of wins, with a vision of equality and justice that just cannot be easily defeated. We are one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monica. We are grateful that way back when you spoke up. And we thank you for doing that. So much initial groundwork that has made it a little easier for us now as we celebrate International Women's Day. As Monica was speaking, I think a lot of you got a little card, and on one side it says, "We are one." As International Women's Day, we are one, no matter what our gender is. On the other side is a word, and I hope that word reflects something within you. My word says stronger. I know we will be stronger together when we work, so tuck this away, and every now and again look at that word and believe that word for you. I'm going to give the podium over to Nina, and she's also going to introduce some of our newcomer youth as well.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Nahani, for the beautiful story and reminders of where we came from and where we're going. I want to take a few moments to introduce Nadine and Dolly, who is our newcomer artist from Syria, I believe. And Nadim took time to do these arts in preparation for the Women's Day. So I will let him explain the art through his eyes. And Ode will translate for us. He speaks Arabic and Ode will translate for us. And then I'll come introduce more youth.
أهلا وسهلا فيكم جميعا.
Say welcome all of you.
جماعتي السوريين أهلي
We say those
أصدقائي.
are the Syrian, my family and my friends.
أنا حبيت أشتغل شغلة. طبعا أنا برسم وبصور وبشتغل بالإخراج أفلام وثائقية.
They say that I'm professional drawing, painting, and photographing. Also, I'm making a documentary.
كانت فكرة من سيد عدي مشاركتي إنه نعمل شيء بيوم عيد المرأة.
They say that this idea started by Uday, me, myself, to share this event, the International Women's Day.
ب 2015 صار في حركة كثير هجرة من سوريا إلى أوروبا من حدود دول البلقان ومقدونيا.
They say that in 2015 there was a great move of Syrian refugees from Syria to Europe through Macedonia.
نحن من بلد كثير جميل، بلد اسمها سوريا. سوريا يعني تعني الأرض باللغة الآرامية القديمة.
He says that I am from Syria, which is a very nice country. Syria means, as an old name, land.
أنا من عشت بحلب. حلب مدينة عمرها تقريبا 5000 سنة ما قبل الميلاد.
He says that I am from Aleppo, this big city, I think the second city in Syria. It is about 6,000 years old.
شيء مؤسف جدا انك تعيش الحرب وتصنعه. انا سوريا يعني كنت ازورها، هي بلد الالوان، بلد جميله جدا الالوانها بطوائفها يعني.
He says that is very nice to live and to make the wars at the same time. I lived in a very nice country, very good country. This my painting reflect that.
تشوفوا ببعض بورتريات او هي امهات السوريات كلياتهم غمضوا عيونهم، حاله الحزن، الحرب، الدمار، القتل، التشرد، غمضت عينها يعني ما عاد في امل.
So he says that this painting, for example, is about the Syrian mothers. You can see that all of them, they close their eyes, and the reason for that because of the sadness, because of their bad situation, the difficult situation, and because they have no hope.
امهات السوريات هن طبعا كلياتهم يشبهوا بعض. العاطفه الزائده عند اي ام تعطيها لكل الاولاد. الاولاد ان نحن كلياتنا سوريين، يعني نحن كلياتنا موجودين هون عائله واحده، وان شاء الله راح نبقى عائله واحده.
So he says that